Alright, so previously we have learned about for advanced chart, right? If I'm not mistaken, we start from heat map and then bubble plot and then dual axis, which is quite straightforward. And lastly, tree map, which we just discussed just now. Now, the part 4 of this video is actually we wanted to learn how to create dashboard. This is very important because creating dashboard, I think creating dashboard is quite easy, but this is important because there is a lot of foundation in creating dashboard or principle to make a better dashboards. All right, so now let's go to the very first thing. Normally, right, the dashboard, normally we do have some metrics in here and we have the other context underneath, right? And sometimes, especially for Tableau, right, we have filter on the edge. Doesn't really matter the filter is on the right or on the left. If we search dashboard, right, I mean we just wanted to see the typical design for dashboard. I'll just make it Tableau dashboards. We can see that we have metrics at the tops, and then we have context below. It's normal, by the way. The context is the layout is quite normal, which we have a certain metrics at the top, and then we have certain other things below, right? So that one is normal. All right, so we are going to learn on how to create dashboard after this. All right, so the very first thing, right, we haven't learned how to create metrics, right? So I think metrics is quite important. We are just going to create a basic one, the basic metrics without code first, and then if we have time we will learn how to create metrics with code. All right, so what does it mean with code? With code is, let's say if you wanted to compare between this month and previous month and etc., right, that one we need to use code a little bit, which we have some logics for it. But if we simply wanted to find the total number of orders in all of the data set, or total number of quantities without comparing between month and month, we doesn't have to use code. All right, so I think about using code and everything, right, I think I'll just like make it as self-learning. I'll just like provide one YouTube videos somewhere, and then you guys can learn from that YouTube videos and just let me know how is the output. But never mind, we will talk about those things later. Alright, now let's start with the very first thing, which is how can we create metrics. Alright, so this step is simple. Let me just rename this one. This one is tree map, right? Tree maps. Okay, never mind. Because we have two tree maps, so tree maps 2. Alright, so the very first thing is I want you to press this one, new sheet, and create a new sheet. Alright, so let's try to make our very first simplest metric first. We are just going to create a very simple dashboard, right? Because I don't think we have time to complete the whole dashboard in our tutorial class later on, which is within two hours, right? So how can we create metrics? The very first thing is, let's say our very first metric is we wanted to measure total number of orders, right? So what we can do is we can take this order ID. Where is order ID? Order ID here, right? Order ID into text here. Alright, so of course we are going to have this one, but what we are going to do is we are going to change, we are going to go to measure and go to count this thing. All right, so what does it mean? It means we are going to get the unique number of orders. All right, so then only we will get total number of orders. All right, so this is basically what total number of orders is, which is 8041, right? So this is our first metric. So how can we format it better? We can just like go to text, I think, and then click this one, and this is our metric just now. So how can we make it better? Most probably we can just press enter and just like put our custom text. In this case I will just put total orders, right? Total orders, and then I'll just like try to make this one bold a bit. Bold, let's make it bold, and then increase the size to maybe 24. I'm not sure how is it going to looks like. Okay, I think this one is better compared to previously, right? So now we have the very first one, which is total orders. I'll just like rename this one as well, sheet 17 to orders, number orders metric. Alright, so this is our very first metric. Let's make another one. Another one is going to be on, I will just like duplicate so it's a lot more easier. Another one is I wanted to change from order ID, number of order ID, right, to total number of customer. Okay, so how can I get number of customer is basically you can just put customer ID here in text, right, and then do similar thing with previously, which we change at measure and we make it count this thing. Now we get total of number customer, or total number of unique customer is 900, right? So I'm just going to change this one to number customer metric. All right, now let's make it nicer, similar way previously. Go to text and then go to here, number of customer, and then I'll just like make it bold a bit and change the size to 24. I think, is it 24? I forgot what was the size. I think it's only size 24 as well. Let me just go check. Is it 24? Oh yes, that's correct. Cool. Alright, so we have two metrics already, which is the first one is number of customer, the second one is number of orders. Now how about we learn how can we create dashboard? Alright, so let's go to here. So alright, so the way how can we create a dashboard is, the very first thing is we can open the canvas. In here, right, I will not refer to the slide, I think I'll just make it here. In here you can just click on new dashboard and you will be here, alright, which is the dashboard page. Alright, so the simplest way of creating dashboard is basically we can just like drag and drop only. So let's say the very first one is normally we put the metrics for what I mean the metrics, right? So we'll just put number of order metrics here and number of customers metric here. I want to make it side by side, by the way, here. Alright, and at the same time I think this is ugly. I want to hide the title, right? Hide the title. Alright, so that is very first one. Now the second one is, let's say I wanted to add tree map, right? I can just like simply add tree map over here and we are going to have these charts, right? Next thing is, let's say I wanted to put bubble plot over here, so I can put bubble plot there. Oh, this is not nice, but never mind. Because this is for the sake of example only, by the way, so I'll just like simply drag and drop just to show you how the process of creating dashboard works. Alright, and the last one is most probably I will just like put dual axis here, so we are going to have something like this. I think I'll just like remove this one first. Wait, give me 1 second. This one, and then I'll just put this one, number of customers, here. Remove title. No. Okay, alright. So I think now it looks better. Alright, so this is example of the basic dashboard, right? How can we do it? So basically we just like drag and drop whatever we want into the dashboard canvas, and then it will become something like this. Alright, so this is just like the simplest overview. Normally each one of this one, they do have borders, right? So if you wanted to add borders, I mean, I'll just like remove this title first. I'll just like remove the title first to make it better a bit. So in order to add borders, right, you can just like click to any canvas that you want and click layout and just choose border something, then it will have borders. So normally for these two things, we are having borders normally, so I'll just like put borders here and put borders here, so it appears better a bit. Alright, so let me just make it fit width. Okay, I think this one is better already. Alright, so this is example of creating dashboard. Alright, that one is just like the simplest way of creating dashboard as for now. Okay, we will learn more in the class later on how to create a better dashboard by using Tableau. Alright, so now let's go to the next thing over here. These are some of the ideation how can you make your dashboard better. Alright, so we have a few number of layouts. The very first one is metric on top and the rest of the thing at the bottoms, and filter is on the right. And this one is also another ideation or inspiration that you can follow, and this one as well, and as well as this one. Alright, so I think this one honestly is not really a good example, because by right, it is good to have certain metrics and the other visual so you get the context better. Okay, so that's it, how to create a dashboard. We will just like proceed to the next thing as well, because I think we are only a few page before we finish things. Let's go through the very first thing, which is what is it mean by a good dashboard. So what is it mean by a good dashboard is basically, number one, that dashboard do have a very tailored storytellings. What is it mean by tailored storytelling is, if you remember, we have learned in previous week, right, especially in week 2, the most important things in storytelling is knowing your audience. So if you wanted to create a dashboard, you need to make sure your dashboard is actually answering the question tailored based on your audience. Alright, so if your audience is CEO, we discussed about this last time, right? If your audience is CEO, they do care about different things. If the audience is operation, they do have a different things in their mind. And if the audience is the marketing, they do have a different things in their mind as well. So you need to make sure when you draw the dashboard, when you build the dashboard, you have this thing in mind where everything is going to answer each one of the question. Alright, that is the first one. The second one is you need to make sure it is interactivity. So what does it mean by interactivity? Interactivity is something like interactive, right? Something like you can highlight this one, or something like you can highlight this one, so it appears better. So that is what it means by interactivities. Alright, now the third one is stay condensed. So what does it mean by stay condensed? So it need to have summaries and exception, right? Okay, so let me just like summaries and exceptions. So what does it mean by summaries is basically the dashboard need to present the high level aggregated information. Alright, so you need to tell them what is the total, something like total revenue, average response times, and everything. But again, make sure this one is answer real question as well. So you don't simply dump the whole aggregate information or the whole aggregate conclusion, but that one is not related to anything, right? Do not do that. Alright, and do not put the raw data dumps, because it is useless. Most of the time when you created the dashboard, right, it means that the data have been processed by you so that you can give the insights. So that is what stay condensed is. And what does it mean by exception is it should actually highlight the whole thing, such as outliers, anomalies, critical alerts, or etc. Alright, so that is what is it mean by exception. Now the last one is always, in every week we have discussed about this thing, you need to use colors strategically, right? Colors is very important. You need to make sure you need to avoid the dashboard have we are going to discuss about colors after this as well. You need to make sure the dashboard is not full of rainbow colors. The colors do have a certain meanings and etc. So creating colors is very important. Alright, now the next thing is we are going to talk about colors again, which